Good evening, council, senior management, staff, and residents of Pelham. I'm sorry we were a little late today. I apologize for that. We had a couple of closed meetings that we had to attend to, and now we're ready to go to open session. So I see that we have quorum, so I call this session of the regular meeting of council on May 6, 2019 in session. And at this time, I'll ask all those that may to please rise, and we shall sing the national anthem, led by our clerk, Madame.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Okay. I have a motion put forward by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that the agenda for the May 6, 2019 regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. First of all, I guess I should ask the question, after looking at the agenda, is there any amendments to be made? And all those in favor of this motion? Okay, motion carries. I gotta find a pen.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Wink has him.
okay, so, under item,
Yes, we have this, yeah, you're right, go ahead.
under item 1.2.2, I would like to amend the motion, and I will provide that once we get to 1.2.2.
I think his amendment to the agenda, Mr. Mayor, through you, is to consider the communication piece that's in the consent agenda immediately following item 11.2.2.
Correct. Sure.
So then we have this as
So it's
amended.
just, right, the motion to amend the order of the agenda.
Okay. Should I call the motion again, or?
On the amendment,
Okay,
yes.
so, sorry, we have to back up a little bit, guys. So we first of all vote on the amended, on the resolution as amended. All those in favor? Okay, and then on the agenda as amended. All those in favor? Okay, excellent. Then we're ready to go. Thank you. And then now we have to ask if any council members have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to declare after looking at the agenda. Seeing none, I ask the clerk to please note that. Okay, presentations, delegations, and reason. So we have a presentation to make tonight. Pelham Minor Hockey Association champions. First of all, I have something here I want to say about the team. So I take it the team is here. Oh, okay. Yeah, bring them in. We got to see these NHLers.
Oh, nice. Wow, look at all that medals, medals.
They're right there
Oh,
on
okay.
the table.
Thank you.
Chocolates and
Yes.
all the names are there.
Yes, okay.
So you're going to have the deputy mayor with you?
Yes, may not know.
Okay. Yeah, come on up here, little guys here. Okay, Pelham Panthers, welcome to council chambers and council. We have before us tonight the Pelham Panthers Midget AE team, which won the Ontario Minor Hockey Association Midget AE 3-5 Championship. Championship was won in Game 5, which was the deciding game of best of 3, in a 1-0 overtime win over Huntsville on a goal scored by Tyler Britton with 1:28 left in overtime. The crowd went wild. Goalie Josh Powell got the shutout, and himself and the other goalie Brock Pello were great to get the team to that point of the championship. So congratulations, gentlemen. And it's at this time that I'll ask the deputy mayor and myself, we have some certificates that we'd like to hand to you guys from the council to show our appreciation for your effort. I don't know how we're going to get through these guys, but we'll find it.
Big council chambers.
So, Councilor Hahn, I'll let you read the names and hand out the certificates, and as you hear your name, I guess, come here and then stand at the back here so we can get a better picture. Okay. Those are the things, and I will hand out the token candy.
All right. Hello. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm taking. Thank you.
Harmon Narbonne.
Lucas Chelis.
I'll take his
He's already in there.
Oh, well, that's fast. Joshua Major. Quentin Nunziata. Owen Warren. Nicholas Longo. Aiden Stewart. Ethan Hawkins. Carson Scott. Tyler Britton.
There we go. Thank you.
Antonio Chelis. Cameron Preston. Joshua Powell. Okay, we've got some more.
were gonna share that.
Oh. Randy Kreisberg. Stu Wright, assistant coach. Terry Powell, head coach.
Well, one other thing that I was, should have said, I didn't read in the form that I got, was this team almost didn't happen in the fall. They didn't have enough players. I personally got a call, but I said I had to bow out, had too much responsibility. But we did get enough players, probably one of the very few teams that have won an Ontario championship and had no cuts to make the team. Everybody made the team. So again, too bad, I'd like to, if we can squeeze guys in here and we can get a picture. Coaches, obviously, come on in here. Hey, whatever.
Unless you want to stretch for Oh, no, I'm good. I'm not going to fall off.
Can you go down? Thank you.
Can I get that banner? Oh, I think you got, yeah, you're right, okay, never mind.
How you doing? Oh, you guys can stay all day. Yeah, this is easy stuff. Don't leave now. Hey, we'll be done by 11.
Oh, thank you, guys. I saw it.
That was good. Yeah, good to see you too.
Well, I know. Just wondered if you wanted to stay up.
No, it's good.
That's what it's about.
Okay.
So the next presentation goes posthumously to Jerry Burkhout. I can't read, if I stayed here and said everything about that great guy, we wouldn't be out of here until 9 o'clock. Just a heck of an individual, put community first, and if we had a lot more people like him around, the town would be that much nicer to live in. Just a great individual. I will read a paragraph from his obituary. Enjoying time with family and friends was fundamentally important to Jerry, but so was being involved in his community. Wow, that's him all right. Jerry was a 50-year member of both the Fonthill Lions Club and Branch 613 Canadian Legion, where he helped fundraise for countless projects, most notably the revitalization of Veterans Park in 2008. He founded the Pelham Food Drive and organized it for 25 years. While serving as a Pelham Town Councillor from 1998 to 2003, he helped initiate the Farmers Market and Paul Nemi Trail. Jerry was also an honorary lifetime director of the Welland Pelham Chamber of Commerce. He coordinated the construction of a visitor information booth and tirelessly championed Pelham as the jewel of Niagara. Jerry was humbled by the many honors he received for his contributions to the community, including a Paul Harris Fellow Award from both the Welland Rotary and the Fonthill Rotary Clubs. Pelham Citizen of the Year in 2005, and most recently honored at the opening of the Jerry Burkow Trail, which he put countless hours into making that happen. So tonight we're here to honor Jerry's time on council, I believe, as a member of the Pelham Town Council from '98 to 2003, and we have a plaque already on the wall at the back there. Wait.
To greet his family, and then if they
So,
want to-
so at this time, of course, we'd like to greet members of his family, and perhaps former Mayor Dave, if you want to perhaps say a few words. Oh, and but I'm sorry, I don't know the family by name, so Dave, perhaps you could come up and introduce the family members.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here in the capacity as son-in-law of a wonderful member of our community, but I wanted to introduce Gwen Alves, and maybe Gwen can come up here and help me out here.
Yes, yes.
So I think that the family is extremely honored by this plaque, and certainly honoring Jerry and his council service. And you heard that there were many initiatives that Jerry started as a councillor when he was there on council, but he continued on in his community involvement. And I don't know if Gwen wants to say anything.
Well, I would just like
thanks
to
on behalf of the family.
I know that Jerry would be thrilled to know that the council, as part of his beloved town, was honoring him. He would just like to know that. He liked that kind of thing, and obviously, and he would be very thrilled to know that we're here tonight and that you have honored him. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shall we
Thank
introduce the rest of us?
Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Kathy, his eldest daughter, and her daughter Annika, and Katie Mosley, Phil Mosley, Sylvia, and Kira Mosley. Sylvia is Jerry's middle daughter, and John is Kathy's husband, and both that gang. And then there's Dave and Carol.
Thank you very much. In closing, I just want to thank the family of Jerry's family, for sharing him with the community, because I'm sure there was a lot of events or lots of evenings when he could have been home spending time with the family, but he was out doing the community thing. And for that, we thank the whole Burkow family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep, thank you. Thank you. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so we're moving along. Oh, so that's the end of the delegations. Okay. We don't have, don't see Diana Houston here, so we do not have a report by regional councillor. Adoption of minutes. Here we go. Thank you. Of course, I've got movement. We have here a resolution put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. 1, SC 13-2019, Special Council Minutes, April 15, 2019. Number 2, C-07, 2019, Regular Council Minutes, April 15th, 2019. Number 3, SC-14, 2019, Special Council Minutes, April 23rd, 2019. Number 4, SC-15, 2019, Special Council Minutes, April 23rd, 2019. Number 5, SC-16, 2019, Special Council Minutes, April 29th, 2019, muzzle order. And number 6, SC-17/2019, Special Council Minutes, April 29th, 2019. And after viewing all those minutes, is council prepared to adopt as printed and circulated? All those in favor? All those against? Thank you. Motion carries.
I'm not aware of any business arising.
Okay.
So now we are at number 8, request to lift.
Okay, so number 8 on the agenda, request to lift consent agenda items for separate consideration.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Thor.
To you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to lift 9.6.1. I'm sorry, it's 9.5.6 is the one I'd like to lift.
Could you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, 9.5.6.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other?
That's
Yes.
the Region of Niagara property tax policy. Thank you.
Okay, and Councilor Hildebrand?
I request to lift item 9.1.1.9, recommendation number 9 from the Policy and Priorities Committee meeting of April the 15th.
Okay. Thank you. Any other items to be lifted? Okay, so we'll keep those in mind. Here we go. So,
So you're going to read this
Yes, I'm gonna skip
with a
those.
save and accept, and you're going to skip this one as well.
okay. Okay, so be it resolved that the following consent agenda items be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. 9.1, presentation of recommendations arising from COW or P&P for council approval. Be it resolved that council hereby approves the recommendations resulting from the following. 1, Policy and Priorities 03-2019, recommendations of council April 15th, 2019.
Save and accept recommendation number
I'll
9.
save and accept for recommendation number 9, which has been lifted by Councillor Hildebrand. Minutes approval committee. Be it resolved that council receives the P&P 03-2019 Policy and Priorities Committee minutes dated April 15th, 2019 for information. 9.3, staff reports of a routine nature for information or action. 9.31, site plan approval report, 1651 Center Street, SP 0419. Be it resolved that council receives this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to application file number SP 04-19, 1651 Center Street, and that council approve the bylaw and authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a site plan agreement between the town and Joseph and Teresa Hodgson. 9.4, action correspondence of a routine nature. 9.41, National Denim Day, May 14th, 2019. Be it resolved that the Corporation of the Town of Pelham does hereby proclaim May 14th, 2019 as National Denim Day in recognition of breast cancer awareness. 9.5, information correspondence items. 9.51, letter to the mayor and town council, re Pelham Arches. Be it resolved that council received the letter from Frank Adamson and Bill Gibson dated April 22nd, 2019, regarding the Pelham Arches for information.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's the item that Councillor
Oh.
Wink had asked to be moved for consideration after item 11.2.2.
I'm sorry,
So let's just remove that one. Thank you.
that one.
Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't read that.
Didn't hear a thing.
9.52, Township of Tudor and Cashel Hydro 1 delivery fees. Be it resolved that council received the letter from the Township of Tudor and Cashel dated April 2nd, 2019, regarding Hydro 1 delivery fees for information. 9.53, Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority Board of Directors. Be it resolved that council received the letter from the NPCA dated April 23rd, 2019, regarding the Board of Directors for information. 9.5.4, correspondence from the City of Welland. Be it resolved that council received the following correspondence from the City of Welland for information. 1. Letter dated April 18th, 2019, receiving the Region of Niagara's report, PDS 9-2019, new official planned consultation timeline framework. 2, letter dated April 18th, 2019, receiving the Region of Niagara's report, PDS 5-2019, statutory public meeting for draft regional official plan amendment 15, exemption policies. 3, letter dated April 18th, 2019, receiving and endorsing the updated Memorandum of Understanding for planning function and services between the Niagara region and local area municipalities. And 4, letter dated April 18th, 2019, receiving and supporting the report PHD 06-2019, Mutual Assistance Agreement for Emergency Management. 9.55, Peninsula West Power, Inc., Notice of Annual General Meeting of Shareholders. Be it resolved that council receive the Peninsula West Power, Inc., Notice of Annual General Meeting of Shareholders for information. 9.56 has been lifted by Councillor Kaur. 9.6, Regional Municipality of Niagara action items. 9.61, Bill 142, Construction Lien Amendment Act 2017. Be it resolved that council receive the Region of Niagara correspondence of April 29th, 2019, Bill 142, Construction Lien Amendment Act, and that council of the town of Pelham endorse and support the associated regional report CSD 29-2019 and recommendations therein contained. 9.7, committee minutes for information. Be it resolved, the council receive the following committee minutes for information. Number 1, Mears Youth Advisory Council minutes from December 18th, 2018, January 22nd, 2019, February 26th, 2019, and March 26th, 2019. 2, Community Beautification Committee minutes dated March 27th, 2019. Summerfest Committee minutes from March 27th, 2019, and April 10, 2019. And 4, MCC User Group Roundtable Committee minutes dated April 9th, 2019. Any comment on items just read? So do we do Council
Comments
Court?
on this? No, comments on this first.
Right, so first of all, so comments on the consent items we received and the recommendations contained therein as read. Any? Nope, I did not see any. So now we will go to the items.
Call the question on that.
Oh, I need a question on that. All those in favor of those consent agenda items, yes, and all those against, motion is carried. Well, where do you put that one at? Where is it at? Okay. Mr. Corr first, or no, or do you go in order?
No, the first item lifted was the Region of Niagara property tax policy ratios and rates.
Yes. Okay, so, Mr. Corr, if you want to
Yes,
speak
through
to
you,
this.
Mr. Mayor, to the acting treasurer. The report is 217 pages. What effect would this have on our taxpayers in the Pelham, or in the township of Pelham?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to respond to that.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. On May the 21st, we are bringing back a report to council on what the blended rate is, what the impact of the regional taxes are, and the towns combined. So that's coming to report to council on May 21st. So we'll be able to incorporate and interpret this at that point.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so do you have an idea of what percentage the rate will go up? Or
No, I can't say that right now.
Okay.
Because we just received this, but the report is coming and for council's approval and then understanding of the blended rate.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so it would have an impact on the taxpayers?
It could, but don't forget, remember how our taxes are, there's what, 48% is the region, and then, 39% is the town, and then there's the other portion's education. Once you blend it, it probably will come a little bit lower than what we have as our own rate. So we'll be able to explain that on May the 21st.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. And then Counselor,
Before you
oh,
move
I'm
forward,
sorry, what?
because that was lifted, we still need to have the motion to receive it. So you could use the same mover and seconder, being Councilors Hildebrandt and Wink, that council received for information the regional report and associated correspondence regarding the regional 2019 property tax policy ratios and rates.
Yes. And I said the same thing, thank you.
You did.
All those in favor of that? Okay, thank you. And now, so now we go to Councilman Hildebrand.
Yeah, with regards to Town of Pelham procedural bylaw proposed amendments, I would like to state the additional amendments, that the procedural bylaw be amended by changing item 8I to provide for a council meeting start time of 5:30, so the amendment would be to replace 6:30 with 5:30. So the amendment would be that the start time of council meetings would be changed from 6:30 to 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
And you need a seconder on that motion to amend.
Okay, so, nope, seconder, Mr. Corr? Okay, seconder on that motion.
And then
Okay,
call for
and we
debate.
vote on that?
And call for debate.
Okay, also now, with that seconder, it opens the item up for debate. And first of all, we'll hear from from Councilman Hildebrand first as to your reason for this.
Well, number one, I think with the length of council meetings, starting earlier helps all of us. Number two, I also think it's a benefit for all of us because the length of council meetings seems to extend till 10 o'clock or later. And I think the earlier we start, the fresher we will be. And I hate to say that after a long meeting, eventually, I'm not thinking as clearly as I should be.
The lights start to go out.
The lights
Yeah.
start to go out. It's bedtime.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Counselor. And Counselor Corr, you did second the motion?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, so what time would the in-camera session start if we move that to 5:30?
Madam Clerk, speculation on that?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, the in-camera sessions, the regular in-camera sessions are hosted at the end of the council agenda. We do have special in-camera meetings where we would need to involve legal counsel for anything because we don't frankly want to pay legal counsel to sit in the chamber all night to the end of the meeting. So we could look at starting those meetings at 4, but we would give proper notice to members of council to be able to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor
Yeah,
Churchy?
through you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I see is these are public meetings, and I want to make sure that the public has a fair amount of time to get here. And I'm not sure if that'll affect them to come to a 5:30 meeting. And if they're okay with that, then I'm okay with it. But just want to make sure that the public gets the opportunity to attend these public meetings.
Okay, thank you. So, Madam Clerk, if this motion gets amended, does that have to go back to P&P, or that has to go, that doesn't become that doesn't become law tonight, does it? Will we have time to have public feedback on this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the procedural bylaw is one of the bylaws that does require public notice before it gets first and second reading. So the procedural bylaw was debated at the last Policy and Priorities Committee meeting. However, with these proposed amendments, if any of them are successful, I would suggest that we would then need to postpone first and second reading, which is listed on tonight's agenda, and not have first and second reading until a future meeting. I have to give 10 days notice to the public about that.
Yes. So that will give the public time to react and let us know their feelings on that. Okay, yeah, Councilman Hill.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see Ada comment on it from a staff basis, because this, I think, has an effect on the staff as well.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the staff definitely would welcome a 5:30 start. I know other municipalities start even earlier, so we're open to it, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment on this amendment? So we'll vote on, we vote on this amendment then?
Correct?
Yes. Okay, so on the amendment put forward by Councillor Hildebrand, all those in favor? And none against. So that motion passes, that amendment passes. Okay, where do I put that now?
I'm tracking it here, Mr. Mayor.
Then we have to go amended, right?
I'm tracking it
Oh,
here.
you're doing it there? Okay, so then,
And I believe he has more
yes,
amendments.
so then, Councillor, continue.
I have a second amendment. I would like to propose that the curfew be changed from 10 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. because of the change in the start time to an hour earlier.
Yeah,
I need a
okay. and-
seconder on that.
Yeah, do we have a seconder on that one? And Councillor Hahn can second. Okay, and now because it has been seconded, we will debate that. And back to you, Councillor Hildebrand.
I think it only makes sense, since we're starting earlier, to quit earlier.
Well said. Thank you. Councillor Hahn, anything to add to this?
No, I agree. Totally, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the revised curfew? Councillor Wink.
So that wouldn't preclude us from extending the 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, or whatever. if
Yeah.
we
Madame
so
Clerk?
choose.
Madame Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the procedural bylaw does permit an extension of the curfew by 2/3 vote of the council, so that provision would still be in place.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment on this amendment? Then I'll call the amendment. All those in favor? And none against. Thank you. And, you gonna do number 3, Council?
Sounds good.
You got one more?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Is that the procedural bylaw be amended at item 17I, council meetings to provide as follows. Resolutions received from Ontario municipalities will be circulated to members of council through a list of correspondence for information purposes only. Should a member of council wish to endorse and support a resolution, the member shall advise the clerk, who will place a correspondence item on the next available council agenda with a recommendation to endorse and support.
Okay, a seconder on this motion, amendment. Council Chofie, thank you. And would you like to speak on that, Councilor Hildebrand?
Yes, what I'm proposing is that there's a lot of items here that are just letters that come to council, for the council meeting. And I think as councilors, this type of information should come to us personally. We'll review it and make a decision whether it needs to come to the council agenda. That would shorten the agenda and leave more time for the things we need to discuss.
Okay. So I take it then you don't like listening to my 5-minute reading exercise?
That's correct.
Councilor Chofie?
No, I think you said it best. I don't want to listen to your 5-minute reading exercise.
For that, Councilor. Okay, so on this amendment, all those in favor? And opposed? Excellent. Amendment carries. Okay, so now, Madame Clerk, wait,
Just want to make sure there are no further amendments to the proposed procedural bylaw.
okay. So does anyone have any further amendments to make this to the procedural bylaw? Not seeing any. I will now call,
So then you need to call this question,
Okay.
and you can use the same mover and seconder from the consent agenda.
Okay.
And you would say, this, and then. Okay.
okay,
So
want me to
number
start
9.
there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion put forward by Councilor Hildebrand, seconded by Councilor Wink, that the report update to Town of Pelham procedural bylaw proposed amendments as amended be received, and that committee recommend that the proposed bylaw amendments as amended be presented to council for first and second reading at their next regular meeting, and that the clerk be directed to provide notice in accordance with the town's notice policy prior to presentation of the bylaw for third reading and adoption. Amendments, section 33, remove and should be vetted through the town's public relations and marketing specialist. Section 33, add, prior to a press release being issued, council shall be notified at a minimum of 12 hours in advance, except in an emergency situation, and as amended, May the 6th.
So those were the amendments that were just carried.
Yeah, and those are the amendments that Councilor Hildebrand just brought. So on all those amendments, all those in favor? Okay, and opposed? None. Motion carries.
Would you just like to initial here? That will be helpful for me. Thank you.
Okay. So as amended, I guess you put here, or not? Yeah, okay. Okay.
Let me just make sure we're.
Do I have my Mears Report here? Is it in here? I just have to find this. If not, I have to go on the, I thought it's on the back though, isn't it?
No.
Nope, there isn't. Okay, then I gotta put it, I gotta pull it up on my screen. Yeah, I'll put it up here. So the next on the agenda is my Mears Report, and I have to, excuse me for 2 seconds while I pull it up on my screen. And I don't have the password. No, I do have the document.
Here, I have the paper.
Oh, you got it? Okay, excellent. Okay, so much for technology. Back to paper, which we like better anyway. So on the month of April, I was very busy. Went to a Niagara Region Pork Producers meeting and dinner in Smithville at the new Agriplex in West Lincoln. April the 9th, went to Heartland Forest in Niagara Falls. Brock University was celebrating their co-op plan, that the students go out and work with the area businesses and hospitals as such. Cannabis regulation education, April 10th at the region. This meeting came about because of a meeting that Councilor Houston and I had at Councilor Trophy's house. We decided that we wanted to continue the ball rolling on cannabis discussion throughout the region. So Diana Houston, our regional rep, organized this meeting with the senior planner, Niagara health officials, and myself. And at that meeting, we are going to have what's known as a Cannabis Summit or Cannabis Convention. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little while to get rolling. Probably hope to have it in September. At this particular meeting, we hope to have Health Canada officials attend, OMAFRA officials, and cannabis producers, and we just hope to continue the discussion with this industry and how it can fit into Niagara region and be a good neighbor doing so. Parasport, April 11th, held at Scotiabank Center in Niagara Falls. This is individuals, mostly in wheelchairs. They had certain events around the gym that you could partake of in a wheelchair, so you could understand just where these kids are coming from and the handicaps they have, but even more importantly, the handicaps that they're overcoming. Fire Hall, April 13th. Installation dinner, Station 3, that's out in North Pelham. Mike Trophy, Lisa Hahn, Marianne Stewart, and Diane Houston were present there with me. It was a delicious meal, and we helped hand out scrolls of achievement to the firefighters. Walker Environmental, they operate a huge landfill facility in Thorold. We just talked about their future plans, what they have done to the community, their contributions, and how they hope to carry on forward. They're actually one of the projects that's near completion is they're taking the methane gas that is now being produced from the older part of the landfill, turning it into natural gas, and then injecting it into the natural gas pipeline to be used by the people of the town. And they're also building a 3-kilometer pipeline to General Motors, and they will be supplying them with their energy. Ag Night at the Legion. I believe that was 50 years in a row now that the Fonthill Legion has, the Lions, Fonthill Lions has had Ag Night at the Legion, just honoring the agricultural members of the community. And again, they put on a great meal, and they had a guest speaker that night, works at Sobeys in Fonthill. I forget his name. This is a challenged individual who has gone out and has written a book, and it's amazing what he has accomplished fighting his handicaps. And to hear him speak, it was a truly inspirational story. Just a heck of an individual, that's for sure. Bruce Gerard certificate. Finally, he was here, and probably nobody realizes this, but he was here about 2 months ago, and we lost his certificate. So we finally got it to him on April 17th, which is all right because I had the pleasure of shaking his hand one last time, and 35 years of service. He didn't mind waiting another 6 weeks for his certificate. I'm not going to go into all of these. Here's one I will mention, though. I went to a facility April 24th, a cannabis facility in Jerseyville, 20,000 square feet, growing now, 123,000 square feet. Additional greenhouse is going up right next door, and they're building 1 million square feet in Quebec. The takeaway from this company is that they went to the city of Hamilton. They said, this is who we are. What do we have to do to set up shop in your town? And this, like I say, the 20,000 square foot growing room that was in flower, so it was at its stinky part of production. Myself and the resident that went with me, we walked around to the back of that facility and stood under their exhaust fans, and there was no smell. You could not tell there was cannabis in that building. So it just proves that the right technology and the right science applied to this industry, it's not cheap, but it is doable. And that was a pretty good tour there from that person. The rest of the thing, tour of Brock University, April 25th. Went up with Teresa, with acting CAO, Ms. Quinlan, and our recreation director, Vicki Van Ravensway. We had invited other counselors, but unfortunately it didn't fit into their time frames. So Vicki and, so the three of us were there for, I guess, 9 till 12. Met with various directors of their institution, and just how they could partner with the town, and how we could use their vast resources, and perhaps the CAO might even want to comment on that meeting.
Yes, it was a really good meeting, and we met with the environmental folks, and I know that we're doing work with the climate change, and we met with the Dean of Applied Health Sciences, and we're looking at potentially bringing a program to the Meridian Community Center for seniors. They came to visit us and to see the facilities, and they were really impressed with what we have. So we're just looking at different program options that we can work with Brock on that. And we also looked at co-op students and internships, and also students for in the recreation department and our trails. So it was very exciting. They really want to work with the municipalities and as the mayor said, provide their resources to help the town, and also to provide, some of the students experience and a really good experience as well.
Thank you. Two more items that I will like to mention. This past Saturday, the Pelham Annual Community Pitch-In Day, April 27th, that was held in Fenwick. Councillor Trophy and Hildebrand and myself showed up at Centennial Park. I got there a little late because I was at an opening for a store. But the volunteers, they had a map. They mapped out a place for you to go to and clean up the garbage along the road. I believe Councilor Trophy and Hildebrand, you guys did Cherry Ridge. I ended up doing Memorial Drive in its length. And it was just, 40 other volunteers showed up that day. So a great community effort there to make the town look better. The last one, honor fallen workers. 8 a.m. gathering at the monument honoring the 4 workers who fell to their deaths in June of '93. The Niagara Regional Labor Council organized 10 events such as this one throughout the region on this day, which is nationally known as the Day of Mourning for workers killed or injured while at work. Pretty good. Okay, that's my mayor's report. Be it resolved that Mayor Junkin's report, got to go this way. Motion put forward by Councillor Hahn, seconded by Councillor Trophy. Be it resolved that Mayor Junkin's report dated May 6, 2019 be received for information. All those in favor and all those against. And I guess I should have asked if there was any questions on that report, but that's too late. Motion is carried. Okay.
Next item is the strategic plan.
Okay, so a motion put forward by Councillor Corr, seconded by Councillor Trophy. Be it resolved that Council receive the 2018-2022 strategic plan and Town of Pelham strategy map, and that Council endorse and adopt the strategic plan as presented herein, and that the Chief Administrative Officer be and is hereby directed to take the necessary steps to implement the strategic plan, and that the Chief Administrative Officer be and is hereby directed to annually measure accomplishments against the plan and report to Council, and subsequently report back to the community in this regard, and that Council hereby adopts the following vision statement. Working together with the community to strengthen trust, enhance the quality of life and economic well-being for today and for the future, and that Council further adopts the following values to demonstrate leadership and commitment: honesty, caring, respect, transparency, trustworthiness, and teamwork. The comments on this strategic plan. Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment. Because of the letter we've received from the Minister Clark, where he wishes that us to consider an interim pause on some planning decisions or to review major planning documents. We right now say in the secondary plan for East Vaughan Hill that we're going to complete it in 2019. I'd like to make a motion to delay that to 2020.
Okay.
East Fenwick.
East Fenwick, not East Fonthill, East
East
Fenwick.
Fenwick, yes, okay.
Yes.
Is there a seconder?
Finalize East Fenwick secondary plan.
Okay, is there a seconder on this amendment? And Councilor Trophy seconds this amendment. And so debate on this amendment. First, we'll start with Councilor Hildebrand.
Well, I think it's obvious that we're not sure, and I'd like to be 100% sure if we're gonna be graded on completing something when we got the government in Toronto making decisions on what we're gonna be doing and not doing. So I'd sooner be safe than sorry. I'd sooner delay it to 2020. If we get it in 2019, great. If we
Yeah.
don't, I'd sooner put it in that
Yes.
year.
And hopefully by then, the governance issue will be identified and
Correct.
the solution going ahead will be there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Trophy?
That's my same thoughts on that, just because of what's going on with higher up,
Okay,
and that we got it in 2019, and that might not be achievable.
okay, thank you very much. Any other councilors have a comment to make on this amendment? Seeing none, I will call the a vote for the amendment. All those in favor? Okay, and all those against? Amendment carries. So, any other discussion on the strategic plan? Amendments or otherwise? No? Okay, so first, no, do we have a vote on the
So you
amendment?
voted on the amendment, so now you're gonna vote
Okay.
on that resolution
Okay.
as amended. The plan as
Okay,
amended.
so, yes, I just
So
have.
it'd be the strategic plan as
Yeah.
amended.
Okay, so be it resolved, the council received the 2018 to 22nd strategic plan and Town of Pelham strategy map as amended.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? So the strategic plan is in place. Motion put forward by Councilor Trophy, seconded by Councilor Corr. Be it resolved that council receives the report Initiative to Replace the Arches over Pelham Town Square, and that council endorse the plan to receive submissions from the Pelham community for proposals to replace the arches that are self-funded and sustainable, and that staff be directed to proceed with the plan to launch the invitation to participate in this initiative to the community as outlined in the report. Any discussion on the initiative to the community? Oh, Councilor Wayne.
So Mayor Junkin, I would like to move that motion to be amended. I move that the motion be amended by replacing paragraphs 2 and 3 with the following: that council accept the proposal to reconstruct the arches as presented by the Fonthill Rotary Club and the Pelham Summerfest Committee, subject to the following conditions: receipt of an engineering report to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works and subject to council approval. The Fonthill Rotary Club and the Pelham Summerfest Committee will undertake to do the entire fundraising for the cost to construct the arches, and that no town funds will be contributed towards the cost of construction, and a reserve fund be established by the Fonthill Rotary Club and the Pelham Summerfest Committee to contribute annually to a minimum of $2,000 per year for the ongoing maintenance of the arches.
Okay, a seconder on that amendment. Councilor Trophy. Okay, and to speak.
So this has been an issue that's been going on for some time, and we have to make a decision on it. The Rotary Club has been extremely generous in making a decision and a commitment to reconstruct the arches at considerable cost and considerable effort in fundraising. The other service clubs have been polled, and they have absolutely no interest in providing a project of this magnitude for the town of Pelham. I know from my perspective, and full disclosure, I've had 4 people over the last week say that they are totally opposed to the arches, but I've had overwhelming support in any conversations that I've had for the reconstruction of the arches going forward.
And Council Trophy, you seconded?
Yeah, as we were talking about when this presentation came up, it was brought forward that you would be looking for any other party to come forward, but it'd be under the same stipulations, it'd be fully funded. From my understanding, they approached a lot of the other user groups. They don't want to take the initiative in the project, but they want to help with the Rotary Club. I received through attending the Wellness Center, open house, and several emails, and talking to residents, well over 400 people that I've been tracking that want to get this project moving again. And the other thing I see, if it does delay it any bit, we might lose part of the fundraising momentum that they have going together right now, if we push it off to June or July. So those are my theories right there.
Thank you.
It's just,
Any other discussions?
Well,
Councilor Hahn.
yes, you, Mr. Mayor, I guess I have a bit of a question, some confusion. So if what we're proposing is, it looks like June 17th is the date that if we move ahead with the existing concept here, it would be the 17th that we would be asking any other folks to come forward with their plans. So if we're not going to have these in place for Summerfest this year, irregardless, I'm just wondering what is that rush? Why we can't wait till June 17th to hear other folks from the community that may have an idea, but that just haven't come forward yet. It seems to me that everybody is entitled to their opinion, but also to the opportunity to make a proposal. It's no disrespect to those people that have already presented. I think it's wonderful that they want to build something in our town, cost-free to taxpayers. However, I think it's also important to make sure that everybody have that opportunity to make a presentation as well. So a bit of a question and a bit of a statement, but I just don't understand the time frame and why there's such a rush, why we can't hear other people's ideas. Somebody can provide some input on that.
Thank you, Councilor.
Part of it has to do with fundraising, and fundraising doesn't happen overnight. I'm aware that the Rotary Club is planning to do a large gala, if you will, in September to raise significant dollars for this. I can tell you from working on other committees that it takes a very long time to get something done with respect to a quality event. To get a quality event done in a short period of time just doesn't happen. So that by delaying further, we're going to be hindering the opportunity of fundraising for the Rotary Club.
Thank you, Councilor. Just a quick note. Okay, so, good, Councilor.
For you,
Court.
Mr. Mayor, to the Public Works Director, they're talking about $100,000. Do you think that's feasible in, with the structure they're planning?
To you, Mr. Mayor, the preliminary design concepts that I've seen, obviously I don't have any detailed plans. I know that they're using a glulam wood structure. To be honest with you, I don't know what the costs are. I haven't performed any cost analysis myself on what that type of construction would be. I know that the previous arches were put together with basically not even construction grade plywood and screws, and the cost for installing those would be around $25,000. We have the foundations that we've retained from the original structure, so that stuff has been retained. We can reuse that equipment as part of this installation. If you're asking for my opinion, I would estimate that this project would be in the range of $120,000, $125,000.
Thank you.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure where the $100,000 dollar
Oh,
number
I'm
came
sorry.
from, but I know in other conversations, I think the numbers were closer between 112 and 120. And they will continue to raise, and like nothing's going to get done until they've raised all the money.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and to my, Mr. Councilor Wing, so if the project goes over budget, the organizers have no problem picking that up? It's not going to go back to the town?
Correct.
So, you know, what's their, and through you, Mr. Mayor, what is their top level? Where could they, you know, so if it goes to 200,000, they're willing to meet that target?
Well, then it doesn't get constructed until they have all the money. There's not going to be any cost to the town.
Okay. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director of Public Works, so no project starts until the full funding happens?
To you, Mr. Mayor, obviously, we would have to work with the user groups to develop timelines on that. At this point in time, I can't tell you how we would proceed with procurement of the construction of that, how that would work out. We haven't had those discussions with the user group. I know from an engineering perspective, from a town perspective, we would want to have engineered drawings in hand with firm estimates on what the cost of the project would be prior to moving forward with the project, so that we understand what the construction would be, how it would affect our infrastructure that's already in place, and what ongoing maintenance costs could be. So we definitely would want to have those discussions and have all that information in our hands before we allow the project to proceed.
I just want, you done, Counselor?
No, so through you, Mr. Mayor, so if we accept the amendment, so that means no other group could reach out to us?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Well, Counselor Stewart.
Mr. Mayor, I know they want to get these arches put right back up, but I personally don't understand why there needs to be such a rush to do it. I find that the entryway down to the town hall is attractive and will only become more so as the trees grow. They can be lighted. And I have a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director of Public Works. You've retained the concrete, whatever they're called, to support them. They were designed to support hollow plywood arches. Do you consider that they would be sturdy enough to be support for the extra height and weight of the solid beams?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, without having the drawings in place and the design, that would be something we'd have to consider. My understanding is that the wood structure would be slightly higher than what the existing structure is to ensure that we're not impeding traffic and larger trucks from using that access. So that would have to be investigated as part of the review of the engineering designs.
Counselor Stewart.
And one more again. Do you have any experience with having like the glue laminated beams used outdoors and how weather affects them for their durability?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I do not personally. Again, that would be something that the engineering department would review when we had the engineering drawings and plans submitted to the engineering department for review.
Thank you.
Counselor Hagelman.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in the same quandary as Councillor Hahn. You know, I understand the fundraising. I understand they want to go ahead. But I think people deserve a chance if other groups want to come forward. Is there a middle ground that we could push back that June the 17th date and still allow them time to do it? That's just a question I have in my mind.
Well, Counselor, if we follow the plan that staff came up with, that was allowing, I believe, 3 weeks in the Voice for people to see the ad, and that would give them 3 weeks to put together their own delegation, delegation to appear before council. They would also need to come, well, we didn't ask for the engineered drawings, but we did ask them to put together a fully funded concept. So that was why the June 17th was deemed as a reasonable time frame, and that we didn't want to go beyond that.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments? I would like to speak on this. I fully support Councillor Hahn's reasoning why we shouldn't be going ahead with this right now. I think it's a great time. The Mother Nature destroyed this, destroyed the arches. They're not there, and I think it's a great time for this community to, for everyone in this community to have a chance to voice their opinions. Yes, it's a great thing the Rotary came forward, and Summerfest, we got this money, but let's say it wasn't the arches. Let's say it was some other project, and someone said, well, here, we got $150,000 and we want to do this project. Would we rush ahead with that? Whatever that project could be, I'm sure we wouldn't. I'm sure we'd say, whoa, we want to think about this. We want to go out to the community and get community thought on this. And I just think that, again, I really appreciate the two groups coming forward. I've stated to anybody that would listen that I'm not for or against the arches. If they end up going up, I have no problem with that at all. If they don't go up, I don't have any problem with that. That's not something that's going to rule my life. But at this particular time, I just think I don't understand the rush, and I believe that every citizen should be given a chance to appear before council, even if they want to come before council and say, you know what, I fully support this project, but even more so, if there's another project out there and they want to bring that forward to us, I fully believe they should have their chance. So I personally will not be supporting this amendment. Councillor Court.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. 2 months is a long time, and if anybody had a decision to give us a gift over $100,000, they would have come forward by now. And I believe in Councilor Hillebrand. Could we just shorten it up? And I understand what the Rotary Club, we always seem to analyze and dissect too much here. And it just, we always take decisions I believe that we are here to make decisions, and we can't constantly go to the paper for audit or for polls and what people want. This great club has given us a gift, and do we say no to them? And could we just say that we could shorten that time to either somewhere in May or the beginning of June, so they could get their organization together and start fundraising? Because if we say no, if we vote against this, and what happens, they just say, okay, we're not doing it, and nobody comes on June the 17th. Nobody's got nothing now. We just did it to ourselves again. So I just believe that we have to make a decision. We have to make a decision to help this organization fundraise. And June the 17th, we're talking, this amendment was April 15th. That's 3 months. And if someone's going to give somebody 2 months, someone's going to give someone $100,000, they're going to do it by now. And I will support Mr. Wink's amendment.
Thank you. Any other comments? So we'll call the vote on the amendment. Do you have it? Does the clerk have that?
I do.
Okay, so if you could possibly read that amendment again, please.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Chilfie. That the motion be amended by replacing paragraphs 2 and 3 with the following: that council accept the proposal to reconstruct the arches as presented by the Fonthill Rotary Club and the Pelham Summerfest Committee, subject to the following conditions: receipt of an engineering report to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works and subject to council approval; that the Rotary Club and the Pelham Summerfest Committee will undertake to do the entire fundraising for the cost to construct the arches, and that no town funds will be contributed toward the cost of construction, and a reserve fund will be established by the Fonthill Rotary Club and the Pelham Summerfest Committee to contribute annually a minimum of $2,000 per year for the ongoing maintenance of the arches.
Mr. Mayor, may I say something first?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so after listening to Councillor Court, the question was asked and it wasn't answered, isn't that was, could we make an amendment to the time of the, so right now, as I mentioned earlier, it looks like perhaps our communications individual, Mark, can speak, June 17th. Is it possible that that can be moved forward based on advertising and timeline that you have?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, absolutely, we can move that date forward. The 17th was originally chosen just to give any other potential groups ample time to get their proposal together, get their ducks in a row, that kind of thing, and just to give them, you know, some lead time, so that they didn't say, well, you asked us, but you only gave us a day or two. But we can certainly move the dates up with the advertising, press releases, and all the tactics. That's no problem.
And would you make a suggestion on that perhaps, Mark? Like right now, you're advertising for 3 weeks in The Voice, I believe?
Yeah, and those weeks are, I believe they're staggered. So it wasn't 3 consecutive weeks, it was every other week for 3 weeks, which would lead us right into the June 17th date. So we could just bump those up and run them all together.
Okay.
So what would the date be then if we did that? So that we could have a calendar, so we can put a date on this? So, June 3rd?
It's the 7th anyway, so it'd be June 1st.
So we have 2 council the next 2 council meetings are June the 3rd, no, and May 21st. So, so pick a day, I guess. The
So
21st is just about that
June 3rd
3 weeks.
is less than a month, so it's really only less than a
Yeah.
month. We're at the 6th or 7th or something today.
Yes.
So we're giving people less than a month, but still,
Yes.
almost a month,
Yeah.
to propose something, and if not, then away we go. We move forward. The arches. That seems fair, but, I mean, you have to take a vote here.
Yes, something talk to the
Through you,
clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Councilor Wink, would that satisfy the,
It's like 3.5 weeks.
Actually, I stand by my motion.
okay.
Okay. So, would we put?
Vacation mode, the way they're talking, they won't do this.
No, you have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, so we have
Right
to
now,
do
you
that.
have to deal with the amendment first.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the ruling from the clerk is we have a motion.
Not a ruling, but
Oh, not a
I'm just
ruling, I'm
advising.
sorry. The clerk has stated that we have a motion on the floor, and that motion has got to be voted on first.
You have the amendment on the floor.
Yeah, the amendment on the floor, as just read by the clerk, is on the floor, and that's the one we're voting on. So all those in favor, and remember, if you're voting in favor of this, there will be no public consultation. It'll be strictly, you're going right ahead with this proposal. All those in favor, raise your hands. Okay, and all those against? So the motion doesn't carry.
So the amendment is lost.
Oh, the amendment doesn't carry.
So now, Mr. Mayor, you are back to the original motion.
Okay, now, would Councillor Hahn,
Make
Wait.
a motion for a date change.
but we can make an amendment now, though.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is now subject to amendment.
Okay, so Councillor Hahn, would you like to make an amendment?
So I would suggest that our time frame, basically, we've got 2 dates then, based on our council dates. We can either go with June the 3rd, looks like, or May the 21st.
Yes.
Today is the 6th, so you're looking at just over 2 weeks if we go the 21st, and obviously 3 and a change if you go with the 3rd.
Yes.
So, as far as time, I'm gonna look actually to Mark here, time frame to make this happen as far as advertising, because the advertising cutoffs on certain days, so you'll have to provide whether that's doable or not. The 21st is,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if we go on the 21st, that will give us 1 week to advertise, which would be the 15th in The Voice. Their issue comes out this week. We won't have an opportunity as they go to print tonight to get anything in, so the 8th, the 15th would be the only edition that we would be able to get a print advertisement in prior to May 21st. However, with the other tactics, we do have our online and social media information to put out as well during that time frame.
Delegations are required to register.
Oh, wait. Yes, so that would even shorten it up, as the clerk has pointed out. If a delegation is to appear before council on the 21st, they actually have to register with the clerk on Wednesday, the 15th. So then they have only basically, what, 10 days?
Okay, so June 3rd it is then. So the motion I would put forward is to amend the date to, if there's going to be plans submitted, they have to be submitted by no later than June 3rd.
Okay. Now, is there a seconder to that motion? Oh,
So just a comment to that. So if it's June 3rd, we need to have that information X number of days prior to the council meeting. So
Yeah, we
the
need
cutoff
it,
date wouldn't be June 3rd, it would
Would
be,
be, go ahead, madam.
May 29th.
Be May 29th.
Okay,
then
May
it would have to
29th
be
then.
Yeah,
So the motion would be May 29th then.
okay. So we need a seconder to this. Councilor Hildebrand will second that emotion. Should they speak to the amendment?
So now you can speak to the amendment.
Okay. So now, I'll first ask, seeing as you put the amendment forward, I'll ask you to speak to that, please.
Oh, well, simply because it then provides the rest of the community an opportunity to present if they have a plan. It's what I mentioned earlier. Again, this is no slight on the group that's already come forward. I think it's wonderful that they want to spend the time and the money and do the fundraising that's required. That's fantastic. I just know as a counselor, it's important for me, and I think that my constituents, for the most part, would feel that it's important that everybody have an opportunity. And instead of rushing something through, think it through, have an opportunity to have other people have their time and present. And if nothing comes forward, then so be it. We move forward with the existing offer, which is very generous.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hildebrand, you seconded the motion. Would you like to speak to it?
I agree with Councillor Hahn. I think we need to give people an opportunity. And we've shortened the time up, so it really, by June, we'll have a final decision. And whichever club is successful, we go ahead with. And I fully support the Rotary Club. I really appreciate what they're doing.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments on the second proposed amendment? Councilor Trophy?
Yeah, so right now, the way it stands, it would be June 17th. So we're bumping it up by the 14 days, the
Yep.
June 3rd meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions on this amendment? No? Okay.
Bring it.
Okay, so on this amendment then, do we have that, Councilor, that written amendment for Councilor Hahn?
So Councillor Hahn has made a motion and it's been seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt that the communication time frame be amended to ensure presentations are available for council on June the 3rd.
Well, should we put in that amendment that they must be presented to the clerk by?
That would be a good idea.
We'll adjust the communication plan so that date is in there, so they would need to be the clerk by noon on the 29th.
Okay, so that'll go out in the communications then. Okay, so on this amendment, all those in favor of this amendment? Okay, and all those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you.
So now you need to vote
Yeah.
on the motion as amended.
Yes. And now on the motion as amended, and that, well, I think we all know what it is. It's a communication plan, but the amendment we just had. So on the motion as amended, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, thank you. Council. And where are we? Initiative, unfinished business.
So actually, you have the one item of correspondence, Mr. Mayor, that was moved down on the agenda to be considered after this report, and the correspondence is from the Rotary Club and the Summerfest Committee. The original motion on the consent agenda, I just have to find the right page. Be it resolved that council received a letter from Frank Adamson and Bill Gibson dated April 22nd regarding the Pelham arches for information. So that would be the motion for the next agenda item, which was moved down, and you could use the same mover and seconder as the consent agenda, which is Hildebrand and Wink.
Okay. So, motion put forward by Councilor Hildebrand, seconded by Councilor Wink, and I just have to read this one. Be it resolved that the following consent agenda items be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. And keep reading.
No, you just need to read, sorry,
Yep,
this,
my phone.
no, not that
Nope.
one. The one that was moved, lifted, this one here.
Okay. Letter to the mayor and town council, v. Pelham Arches, be it resolved that council received the letter from Frank Adamson and Bill Gibson dated April 22nd, 2019, regarding the Pelham Arches for information. Any discussion on this letter, motion? And, okay, all those in favor, receiving for information? Okay, any against? Okay, motion carries.
Initial beside it.
Oh, just beside it, okay. Then this, there we go. Motion put forward by Councillor, I'll get it later. By Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Wink. Excuse me for a second. Thank you. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass same, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. 1. Bylaw number 4104, 2019, being a bylaw to adopt a code of conduct for council and local boards. 2. Bylaw number 4105, 2019, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan amendment for the lands located at 1651 Center Street. 3. Bylaw number 4106, 2019, excuse me, being a bylaw respecting the gypsy moth. And 4. Bylaw number 4107, 2019, being a bylaw to govern, we got a sticker here.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, if you could still read it into the motion, I believe there will be a motion to divide forthcoming because of the amendments to the proposed procedural bylaw.
Okay. Bylaw number 4107, 2019, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of the Town of Pelham Council and committees, the conduct of its members, and the calling of meetings, and to repeal and replace bylaw number 3293, 2012, first and second reading. Comment on this motion. Oh, Councilor Hildebrand.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to divide so we can consider the other bylaws in block except for this one. That is agenda item 14.4, proposed procedural bylaw amendments be referred back to staff to incorporate the additional.
Don't do that part yet. So then,
Yep.
you just want to divide the motion
Yes.
to consider bylaw 4107, 2019, the first and second reading of the procedural bylaw separately?
Yes. So we can still do 1, 2, 3.
Correct, but we
Yes.
just need a seconder for the motion to divide.
Oh, so, okay, a motion to divide, which is knocking number 4 out, off. So I need a seconder. Councilor
Stewart?
Councilor Stewart. Okay.
No, number 4. Number 4. The procedural bylaw.
That's to do with the amendments we passed earlier. So, now we have to vote on the amendment, or should we discuss the amendment?
No, you just have a motion to divide.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is divide the motion to allow for consideration of the proposed first and second reading for the procedural bylaw separately, and then you go back to the motion for the 3 bylaws as presented on the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we vote on the move to separate.
The motion to divide.
Yeah, okay. Oh, Councilor Wink.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, is it possible that we lift one of the other items also to be divided for
Certainly, you could add
discussion?
that as an amendment to the motion to divide.
Right, so I would like to divide 4106-2019 Gypsy Moth bylaw for discussion, please.
No,
It's actually just a motion, or a divide, the motion is just a request, so that's fine.
okay, so we don't need a seconder.
Right. So that's just a request, it doesn't actually need a vote even, we'll just consider them separately.
No, okay, okay. So we're still on the amendment to separate the bylaw 4107.
No, that's just done by a request, Mr. Mayor, so those requests have been made to divide bylaws 4106 and 4107. So right now, the motion before council would be for the bylaw 4104 and 5, the code of conduct and the site plan for Center Street.
Okay, so let me read this again then. Be resolved that the council of the town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass same, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. So it's number 1, which is bylaw 4104, 2019, being a bylaw to adopt a code of conduct for council and local boards, and 2, bylaw 4105, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement for the lands located at 1651 Center Street. So any discussion on those 2 bylaws? Not seeing any, I call the vote on that motion. All those in favor? Okay, so those 2 pass. And all those opposed? No one opposed. Okay. So now,
So the first bylaw divided was bylaw 4107, which is the changes to the procedural bylaw, and Councillor Hildebrand asked that that be divided for separate consideration.
okay. So should I ask him to speak on that? Yeah, okay, so Councillor, want to speak on your decision to divide this?
Yes, well, my motion is to direct the staff to bring the bylaws further amended back to council for first and second reading at the next regular council meeting, because I think we need more time to go over it in detail.
Okay, thank you. Who's second? Oh, we didn't have a second.
I don't have a seconder, and
Yeah.
that would be needed because of the amendments made this evening, earlier this evening
Yes,
on the agenda.
that time. So, I need, Councillor, oh, wait, you're seconding that, Councillor? Okay. Councillor Corr will second. Okay, any further discussion on this amendment? Okay, so,
Call the question on that one.
okay, so we'll call the question on number 4, as amended by Councillor Hildebrand. All those in favor? Okay, all those against? The motion carries. Okay, now we're to number 3.
Correct.
Okay, so now, bylaw number 4106, being a bylaw respecting the gypsy moth. Councillor Wink, you pulled this for discussion.
Yes, so looking at the agenda for the committee of a whole, we are also going to be discussing the gypsy moth issue. I agree wholeheartedly that we have to do something with respect to the gypsy moths, and we've got to deal with it sooner than later. My concern is here under the number 1 bullet point, where the infestation in areas identified by the Director of Public Works as severe in nature and deemed a matter of public nuisance in the town of Pelham. Part of my concern is I have questions for the committee of the whole with respect to some of those areas that are being sprayed, because some of those areas that are being sprayed are town property, but what I understand, they aren't severe or critical. So the Comfort Maple, do you know what, quite frankly, do it. But the park in North Pelham, Marlene Stewart Street Park wasn't deemed as critical, if I remember correctly, nor the park in Timber Creek. So I do have questions for the committee of the whole that's preventing me from saying, yeah, I'm in favor of this bylaw. Yes, we've got to do something about it, and we got to do something about it quick.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more discussion that needs to be done.
So I'll ask this to the clerk. The fact that we passed the bylaw here does not prevent discussion of the at the cow as to what steps we're taking. Right, Madam Clerk, or what's your advice on proceeding here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Director of Public Works would be your subject matter expert on this bylaw specifically, because he'll be able to give you the information on the correlation between the bylaw and the program itself. The bylaw is to declare it a
So
nuisance.
you should be discussing this now then.
Well, no, it would, I would suggest your advice would come from your Director of Public Works,
Yeah,
Mr. Marr, on the bylaw.
Okay. Director of Public Works, Mr. Marr.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the bylaw is coming into effect to essence give the town permission to spray on our own properties as well as the affected budding residents without having individual permissions from each of the property owners. So my understanding is that we need to have permissions from the landowners prior to implementing the spray program. As it stands right now, because of the wet spring we've had, we've probably been pushed back about 2 weeks, so we're probably looking at the end of May into the middle of June for the spraying to take place. We don't have the exact dates yet, but we would need this bylaw to be enacted and in place prior to that actual spray happening.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, then, Mr. Marr, in the bylaw, it's stating that you've identified the areas. Yes, I think it has to be sprayed, but I question some of the areas that you've put forward.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we worked with Trees Unlimited. They have identified only areas that were severe in infestation. So only those areas are being sprayed.
So by his judgment, this consultant, we might as well say, by his judgment, these are indeed.
These are the severe areas that need to be sprayed, correct.
Okay, thank you. We'll go, Mr. Wong.
That's fine.
Okay. Councilor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this question would be for the Director of Public Works, Mr. Marr. Was the area towards the rural part of Pelham down Canberra Road inspected? And I'm talking just north of, or just west of Center Street.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if you allow me, I'll have to pull up that report. I don't have the maps burned into my brain. But I know that we inspected all of our municipal properties and the abutting urban and rural areas around those properties. So all the town properties and our unopened road allowances were inspected.
Okay.
We have further questions regarding the actual areas. We can pull the maps up. I can get that information. I just don't have it readily available for me right now.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, then Trees Unlimited, they inspected just a public property, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they did inspect all the public properties in the areas where there was infestation. They also, through the use of binoculars and ground inspection, they did inspect the abutting urban properties.
Like private properties?
Yes, correct. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I asked this question today. So not every individual property was walked on and inspected. So we would do the inspection, or Trees Unlimited would do the inspection on behalf of the town on our public lands, and would, through the use of binoculars, would also inspect the abutting urban properties. I don't have the subject matter expert here today from Trees Unlimited, but those inspections would be with their expertise, they would be able to identify where that infestation level would be considered still severe, based on their inspections of our municipal properties.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the director. So if we pass this bill, then we have the right to charge residents for spraying?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what this bylaw does is allows the town to actually implement the spray program without having to go and get individual approvals from all of the residents, abutting residents. It does not discuss the cost recovery mechanisms.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, so if we pass this and we pay for it, we don't have to go back. If the town has enough money, we don't have to go to our residents and ask for extra money if we pass this bylaw.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. That's not what the bylaw is about. The bylaw is to is so that the Trees Unlimited doesn't have to get permission on all of the adjacent homes to the town properties. So the financing is completely separate.
So through you, Mr. So this is one issue, finance is another
Yes.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is just so we can move forward and start spraying.
Okay. So I sat in that meeting today with Jason and Trees Unlimited. Maybe I should be saving this for Cow, but there's a lot of misconception going around in the neighborhood. And when you talk to Trees Unlimited, this guy's been in the business for I don't know how many years. I asked him about pricing. As it stands right now, we are comparable to West Lincoln. We're not paying a premium here in Pelham. And his idea or his thoughts on infestation, this little bug can blow across Lake Erie. So just because the town had an infestation does not mean that we infected all of the town. He said most of our infection, in fact, is coming from the west on the prevailing winds. And it has been known to be blown across a lake. So the idea that because we haven't sprayed Hillcrest, and this is another thing he mentioned, you do not spray every year for this because the MNR would not allow you to spray unless the infestation has reached a certain level. So for us to go out and make a spray program, we would never have gotten the approval from the MNR to go out and spray if the infestation level was not high enough. So that's how come we haven't, should we have sprayed 1 or 2 of those years? Maybe. But to say that we should be allowing $100,000 a year and spray for the next 10 years, that is totally false according to this expert. You do not know 1 year from the next. It's a cycle. And then but just because it was bad this year, we saw the egg masses, yes, it's bad. But if we do the spraying this year, and if it's the right kind of spraying next year, we probably won't be spraying. So, like I said, there's a lot of misconception floating around, and talking to this fellow today sure answered a lot of questions for me. Anyway, so, Councillor, so we're voting. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, where are we at?
Cow meeting.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to pass this bylaw.
Okay,
Still need to put that
Councillor
motion
Corr.
back on.
Through you, Mr. I just want to make a comment when you say this little bug goes over a lake. I went to Mr. Ashdown's property on last Tuesday, and obviously that little bug didn't need to go over a lake. It went just over a house. And I went to 2 residents, and the infestation is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
I
to be
believe
honest with you, we spent $7,000 in the last 11 years, and I'm going to tell you, I'm a business owner, and I would say we're responsible for that. Because we did not
Expert
do
said
our,
that. I'm just telling you what the expert said,
well,
Councillor.
I'm going to tell the expert to come to Fawn Hill and see the residents.
He's
and what
gone
they're
all
putting-
through the
well,
town, sir. He's gone
okay.
all through the town.
But to say that little bug didn't come from the backyard to the front yard, it came from over a lake, it doesn't make sense to me.
And how about the year before when it first started?
Well, sir, I'm not here I just seen it, and again, we haven't sprayed in the last 11 years, and last year we spent $7,000 on spraying, and I don't think that was good enough.
So, on the, yeah, now I've lost my train of thought. So we're going to call,
So you still have a motion that you, with regard to passing the bylaw on the Gypsy Moth program?
no, okay. No amendments? No, because it was just pulled.
It was just
Yes.
lifted,
Okay.
divided.
And we can go with
Correct.
the same
Go with the
first and
same mover
second?
and seconder, yeah.
Okay, first and seconder, same, I'm going to read it anyway. Put it forward by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Wink, and we are now going to vote on the bylaw number 4106, 2019, being a bylaw respecting the gypsy moth, implementing it, I would think. All those in favor of the bylaw?
To spray?
To spray, yeah, yes. Okay, one, but I'm sorry.
I don't see everyone's hand, so you need to call for the opposed.
So we vote, please? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. Okay, all those against? Okay, motion carries. Okay, here we go. Motion put forward by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Wink. This is the Asante sign variance revised. We resolved that council received the report entitled Asante sign variance, and the council approves the requested variance to the sign bylaw, as outlined in the report to permit an electronic sign. Discussion on this motion. Councillor Corr.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so if we allow this, that means that any other residents or businesses could put an electric sign moving forward?
Let's ask the bylaw.
Through Mr. Mayor, any electronic sign in the town has to have prior, or council approval, so every single sign needs a report.
Good. Councillor Hildebrand.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the fire chief. As I understand, the sign is now positioned to meet our bylaw. Is that correct? And all we're voting on is whether it's an electronic sign or not.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Trophy.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Fire Chief, this sign, as it will be going up, there is no restrictions, or it won't implement any safety at the corner or anything like that.
Through Mr. Mayor, no, they've moved it to the east side of the property, so even further away from the intersection. It's nowhere near the sight lines, pedestrian traffic, car traffic. And it's also subject to the regional bylaws, which don't allow any video, so it's only
Rating.
letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion? Okay, so on the motion put forward on the Asante sign, all those in favor? All those opposed? The sign gets lit.
Mr. Mayor, the next part of the agenda is the closed session, so there's a motion to recess.
Okay, yeah, so be it resolved, okay, yeah, motion put forward by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that council recess in the in-camera portion of the meeting and reconvene immediately following the committee meeting scheduled for this evening. All those, any discussion on this motion? Okay, and all those in favor? Okay, none opposed. So we recess the camera. Motion carries. Oh, so now we're going into cow.
So now you're in recess.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
Does council want to go back in?